Hi, my name is Dave Bellizzi. I run the motorcycle safety training school called the Riding Academy of New Jersey. We're located at Montclair State University. And what we want to do here is we want to show you a video of how to use your eyes to avoid a crash because this is a good mental skill that's going to help you avoid a crash. So let's get right into it here. If you took the basic rider course with the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, they have an acronym called C. And what's it stand for? Well, obviously, it's going to be search, evaluate, and execute. So, what should we be searching for when we're riding or driving? So, I'm going to pause a little bit sometimes to try to get you mentally engaged in this video here. So, what should be searching for? Well, obviously, hazards and traps, and you want to search for potential hazards and traps. Road signs, especially the yellow road signs. These yellow road signs are called warning signs. Department of Transportation is warning you that there's a hazard coming up. So the Department of Transportation is giving you enough time to prepare for these hazards that are going to occur. Again, if you're scanning aggressively and picking up these road signs in advance, looking for the road signs. You also want to be looking for traffic control devices. For example, if you're scanning well ahead and you see a traffic light up ahead, well, what's coming up? Well, it's going to be an intersection. So again, you got time to prepare because in one place where motorcycle crashes or the multi-vehicle and motorcycle crashes occur is going to be at intersections. You also want to be scanning for traffic control markings on the ground, left turn only, right turn only. That kind of like gives you an idea of which way the traffic flow is going to be or should be. Road and surface characteristics, if you're on pavement, asphalt, and you're riding and all of a sudden you're scanning well ahead, and all of a sudden you see this, well, you know a dirt road's coming up, so you know the traction is going to change. So again, gives you time to prepare if you're scanning well ahead and spot these things. And you also want to be looking for your escape paths. You always want to have it out. Always be looking for those ways out if something should happen. Also be on the lookout for this type of license plate. The driver may have slow reflexes. So what's a hazard, traffic-wise? Well, here's how we're going to define it. Again, something that can cause a crash. That's how we'll define it. What's a potential hazard? Well, something that may cause a crash. What's a trap? Well, we kind of all know what a trap is. It's a situation that we may not be able to get out of. What's an escape path? Well, a way out to avoid a trap, or maybe a way out when we are trapped. All right. So, what does a good quarterback do when he drops back to pass? The good ones. What's he looking for? Well, the good ones, they're looking for obviously where the receivers are, an open receiver. They're also looking to see where the defenders are so that they don't intercept the ball. And that quarterback's also kind of scanning to sense where the defensive linemen are so he doesn't get sacked or tackled. So the good ones are looking for those three things there. So search aggressively like a good quarterback. And here's Peyton Manning. He was a pretty good quarterback in his day. So we came up with the term quarterback eyes. You want to develop what we call quarterback eyes. There's a couple of good quarterbacks who were really good at scanning. Joe Namath, the Jets years ago. Tom Brady had great eyes, and so does Aaron Rodgers. So they scan the entire field. Again, these three quarterbacks didn't have that many interceptions because, again, they're pretty good at scanning the field with their eyes. So instead of us scanning the football field, our field is going to be the traffic, the roads up ahead. So you want to scan 7 key areas when you ride or drive. So you got 360-degree awareness. Again, you want to know everything that's going on around you. We call that situational awareness, knowing everything that's going on around you at all times. So scan these particular 7 key areas. You want to scan 12 seconds ahead. We call that an anticipate path of travel. Now, you may not be able to scan 12 seconds ahead. You may be able to scan more than 12 seconds or maybe less than 12 seconds. But scan as far ahead as you can see because that's going to enable you to respond to whatever hazards, possible hazards that you're seeing in advance. You also want to scan 4 seconds ahead. We call that the urgent path of travel, your danger zone. And again, anything within 4 seconds of you, you can hit it or it can hit you. The ground ahead in front of you, what are you looking for? Again, potholes, debris, oil slicks, whatever it might be. Scan your left, your right, and look at both mirrors, your left and your right mirror. How often should you be scanning these 7 areas? And the answer is constantly. Constantly be scanning these 7 areas. Again, search aggressively like a good quarterback when you ride or drive. Keep your eyes moving constantly. And a good scanning pattern is to scan aggressively from side to side, up and down, in what we call a Z or Zorro pattern, that mask is Zorro. Having good quarterback eyes helps you recognize these hazards and potential hazards, as I said before, sooner, so that you respond in advance and avoid a crash, so you don't have to react quickly, brake or swerve. Keep those eyes moving, again, side to side, up and down in that Z-Zorro pattern. Scan these 7 areas. Because the more you scan, the less surprises you'll have. Some people say that, out of nowhere came this car. Well, I don't think the aliens beam down cars and aim them at us. Usually when someone says out of nowhere, came this whatever, usually that kind of tells me that their scanning wasn't that aggressively enough. They didn't have good situational awareness. Now, good quarterbacks use a Z-scanning pattern. A couple of years ago, we had the quarterback coach for the Giants come through our course, and he was telling me that when they go to scout the college quarterbacks, they videotape the quarterback's eyes when he drops back to pass to see what those eyes are doing. And good pilots also use a Z-scanning pattern when they're up there flying. Good following distance, a minimum of 2 to 3 seconds, is going to enable you to spot these potholes, slippery spills, debris, grand saddle, etc., on the ground in front of you in advance, again, so you have time to respond and avoid them. Because if you got less than 2 seconds and you spot something, you're going to have to react, brake or swerve. And again, that could lead to a crash. So again, that good minimum, at least 2 to 3 3-second following distance. So when would you add more seconds to your following distance? Give you a second or two to think about that. Well, obviously, in inclement weather, higher speeds, it's going to take longer to stop, so you want to increase that following distance. When you're behind a large vehicle, because if you're too close to that vehicle in front of you, you're not going to be able to see the oncoming traffic, what's ahead. So by increasing your following distance, you'll be able to see what the oncoming vehicle is, and maybe that oncoming vehicle can get a better shot at seeing you. And age, well, they say that our reflexes slow down a little bit as we get to that ripe old age. So it's going to take us, our reflexes are a little bit slower. So it's going to take us a little more time to slow down and stop. So increase your following distance there. Nationwide Insurance Company, they did a 6-month study a number of years ago in several states. They had 2 cameras, one placed inside the cars aimed at the driver's eyes, one placed outside the cars on the front bumper aimed at facing forward. What they wanted to do here, they wanted to study the iPad, and they want to see what the average following distance was. So what do you think the average following distance was? Take a guess. 0.5 seconds. If you think that's off base, well, go out on the major road, New Jersey Turnpike, Garden State Parkway, Route 80, or 287 during rush hour, and you'll see people are pretty much almost on each other's butt. They're very, very close. And then usually if a car stops quickly, you get a chain reaction crash, 3 or 4 cars crashing, especially when it rains. Somebody stops, and then you got bang, bang, a multi-car pileup. Eye pattern, as I said before, this was before the advent of cell phones. What they noticed, the eye pattern just fixed beyond the hood and between the lines, or maybe at the car in front of them. And they call this what we call lazy eyes. They were fixated eyes. Now, they found out that drivers who maintain a 3-second following distance and move their eyes frequently, guess what? Well, we talked about that following distance, that minimum, and moving their eyes. Well, obviously, they were involved in less crashes. All right, so you're riding on your motorcycle or driving your car, and you're searching aggressively for hazards, traps, etc. Now you spot something that could be a hazard or is a hazard. Now you move to the next stage, which is what? Evaluate. So you want to evaluate what's going on. Well, what does that mean? Think about that. What does it mean to evaluate? Well, once you spot a hazard or a potential hazard, anticipate what might happen, what could happen, what will happen. Go through that scenario game. What's going on? Again, that mental process, evaluating what's going on. And if there's multiple hazards, prioritize which one you want to deal with first, and then the next one. Obviously, the one that's the biggest hazard you're going to want to deal with first, the one that's going to be the bigger threat to you. Again, read the road, anticipate like a good quarterback. Now, motorists may not do what they're supposed to do or what you expect them to do. So if you have a car in a left turn only lane, what's that car going to do? Well, by law, it's got to make that left turn, or else it's a 4-point ticket. But you've seen situations where they go straight or do some crazy stuff. So again, don't expect them to do what they're supposed to do. After we evaluate the situation, what do we do next? We're going to do something to avoid, maybe minimize the crash. There's basically only 3 things that we can do, and that's what they are. We can adjust our speed, adjust our position, and we can communicate. Let's talk about each one. So how can we adjust our speed? What are some of the ways we can adjust our speed? Well, the general areas, we can speed up, we can slow down, and we can stop. Those are the 3 general ways that we can adjust our speed. Excuse me, let's talk about each one. How can we speed up? How can we speed up on a motorcycle? Well, we can roll on the throttle. That's like stepping on the gas pedal, right? We can downshift the next lower gear and accelerate quickly. We cover this in our supplemental e-course. We created our own e-course, supplemental e-course. We have it posted on the Riding Tips page of our website if you want to check it out. So basically what you're doing here is you roll on the throttle quickly after downshifting to the next lower gear. It's like putting the gas pedal to the floor on an automatic transmission vehicle. For example, if you've ever driven an automatic transmission car and you put the gas pedal all the way to the floor, it quickly accelerates because you're actually downshifting the first gear, and it does it automatically. And we have a video on this on our Riding Tips page of our website, the 3 types of downshifting. So if you're not familiar with this concept, check that video out. It's really, really helpful. How can we slow down? Well, we can use both brakes, obviously. There's some other ways we can slow down a motorcycle. Think about that. We can also downshift the next lower gear, also known as engine braking. Again, we cover that in our supplemental e-course. Again, if you want to check it out, we have it on the Riding Tips page of our website. But basically what this means is you don't roll on the throttle quickly after downshifting to the next lower gear. Using the power of the engine to slow down. It's sort of like the same concept, almost the same feeling as applying the rear brake. And again, this is also on that video, the 3 types of downshifting. So again, if you're not familiar with the concept of engine braking, that video will really help you out there, give you some great information. You can also roll off the throttle. That's like stepping off the gas pedal. So these are the only 3 ways to slow down a motorcycle. And out of these 3 ways, which one do you think is the preferred way and why? Think about that. Which one? Well, we highly recommend using the brakes. Why? Well, when you use the brakes, what happens? The brake light goes on. Now, car drivers, they're not paying attention nowadays. They're on the phone, they're texting, they're scrolling through their social media feed, looking at the GPS. They're distracted. Distracted driving is one of the major causes of crashes these days. So you need to somehow attract their eye. So by using the brake light, hopefully that will attract their attention. They make a brake light modulator where the brake light pulsates when you apply it. It's really good. Again, these are good defensive riding techniques because you need to attract the attention of the drivers because they don't see us because we're smaller than other vehicles and we're not as wide. So again, whatever you can do to help them see you is going to help you avoid a crash. Safety tip now, they make some units that will flash the brake light when you slow down using number 2 and number 3, whether it's engine braking or rolling off the throttle. One goes on the back of your helmet. The other one you can wire into your motorcycle. And you'll find both of these on the Safety Products tab that's on our website. So again, if you go to our website, the Riding Academy of NJ, New Jersey, go to the Safety Products tab and you'll see the products here that we're just talking about. Now, some people think pulling a clutch will slow you down. No, it won't. All it does is take power away from the rear wheel. Now, if you're doing 40 miles an hour and pulling a clutch, guess what? You're still going to be doing 40 miles an hour. If you're going downhill, you're going to be going faster than 40 miles an hour. Now, if you're going uphill, yeah, it's going to slow you down, but it's going to create some other issues there. So pulling a clutch does not slow you down. The best way to slow down are the brakes. By the way, for those of you who are maybe not familiar with motorcycles, but you got some clutch experience, maybe you're gonna, you know, a novice, learning how to ride. You ride the clutch when you're taking off. You're not gonna burn it out. A motorcycle clutch is a wet clutch based in oil. It's not like the car clutch, which is a dry clutch, metal on metal, which will burn out if you ride it. So you ride the clutch when taking off and doing slow speed maneuvers. You ever see the motorcycle cops, when they're in a parade or maybe at a funeral or they're doing those slow speed competitions? They're pretty much riding the clutch or maybe they're riding the rear brake, or what they call dragging the rear brake pedal. Now, there are a few motorcycles which have a dry clutch, but they're pretty much your high performance motorcycles, like the Ducati and a couple of BMWs there, just to keep in mind. How can we stop? Well, that's pretty obvious there, using both brakes. Some people try to stop by using their feet, well, unless you're Herman Munster. So we came up with an acronym for our students to remember what to do when you're stopping. We kind of call it BCD1, be cool dude. So the B, apply the brakes. C, a split second later, squeeze that clutch all the way in. D, again, a split second later, downshift to first gear. So make sure you come to a stop in first gear. Because you come to a stop in a higher gear, you're probably going to stall if you take off in that higher gear. So make sure you're in first gear when you come to a stop. And stay in first gear while you're waiting for a light to change. Because if you're in neutral, what a lot of motorcycles are, and all of a sudden you notice the car behind you is not going to stop, now you got to pull in the clutch, you got to downshift to first gear, hopefully get it into first gear. By the time you do that, that car could rear end, you can be a hood ornament. But if you're already in first gear, you look in the mirror and say, guy's not going to stop. All you got to do is ease and roll and make a quick getaway. Again, keep beginning first gear while you're waiting for light. It's not going to harm anything as long as you got the clutch all the way in. Okay, when you're merging onto a highway, you may have to speed up, slow down, or stop. And, obviously, you've been merged onto, Route 46 from a side road. You have to do one of these three things: either speed up, slow down, or stop the traffic. How do we adjust position? Well, I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about it. What are some ways we can adjust our position? Well, we can turn, swerve, move around in our lane. We can go from left to right in our lane. We can change lanes. We can also, again, use that left to right shoulder only to avoid a crash. Riding on the shoulder is illegal in New Jersey. Don't do it on a motorcycle, whether it's the left shoulder or the right shoulder. It's going to annoy people. And really, you don't want to annoy people in New Jersey, especially motorists, because you don't know if they have road rage. You don't know what they're going to do. And again, only go between the lanes to avoid a crash. If you're looking, there's a car that's not going to stop and you want to go between the cars here to avoid that rear end collision. But again, lane splitting and lane filtering are illegal in New Jersey. Lane splitting is also unsafe and it's also dangerous in New Jersey. But again, if you need to avoid a crash, by all means, use that right or left shoulder or go between the lanes to avoid that crash. Now, these can also be escape paths. Like I said before, going between the lanes or using the shoulders. How can we communicate? I'll give you a second or two to think about that. Well, we can use the horn, communicate our presence. Horn on a motorcycle, not that loud. Go out and get an air horn, or actually now they have train horns, which are really loud. They're great. Turn signals, communicate your intentions. Turn signals on some motorcycles are not that big or noticeable. So maybe if you want to make a left turn, stick out your left hand. If you're going to make a right turn, well, maybe put your left hand over your head and point to the right, because you want to keep that right hand on the throttle at all times. Obviously, the brake light when you're slowing down, you're communicating to cars behind you, vehicles behind you, hey, I'm slowing down. And lane position, that communicates your presence where you are in the road. You'll always want to communicate your intentions to minimize the chances of a crash. Now, don't flash your headlight. Some people like to do that. But at least in New Jersey, you're telling the oncoming vehicle it's okay to turn in front of you. You never want to let a vehicle turn in front of you when you're on a motorcycle. So don't flash that headlight. So it's a key message here. So if we have good mental skills, that good perceptual skills, when we ride or drive, it's easy to spot hazards, potential hazards, road signs, traffic control devices, etc. in advance. And this mental skill can help us to avoid a crash. And according to the National Traffic Safety Association, they say, they've been quoted by saying, riding a motorcycle safely is 90% mental and 10% physical. So to them, what goes on between your ears is more important than how you handle that motorcycle. So let's see how good you are at this. We want to watch the slides carefully and see if you can read the number that's on each slide. So get ready, here we go. All right, what was that number? All right, let's see if you're correct. 417 was the number. All right, next number. Here we go. How about that one? I apologize for the double the slides on that one. 379, the correct number. Let's try the next number. Get ready. With two numbers there, 162 and 986. All right, here's your next set of numbers. Get ready. What were they? Correct numbers, 235 and 409. All right, get ready for your next set of numbers. Here we go. How about those? Three numbers, 486, 179, 635. All right, next set of numbers. Get ready. What were they? Again, three numbers, 112, 758, and 303. All right, next set of numbers. Again, get ready. Here we go. What were they? There's actually four numbers there, 886, 714, 129, and 523. So what are we doing here? Well, we're training you to use that Z scanning pattern. And those of you who are good at it, we're able to seal the numbers. So this is a skill that you can start using tomorrow and every day when you drive and ride. You can practice it every single day when you're out there driving your car and riding that motorcycle. So start now to develop this key mental perceptual skill. Because we say the more you see with Z, the less crashes you'll be. And as I mentioned a few slides earlier, according to National Highway Traffic Safety, they're saying that riding a motorcycle safely, 90% mental, 10% mental, physical. So what goes on between your ears is more important than how you handle that motorcycle. Now, your eyes don't move that often when you're tired or impaired. New Jersey transit buses, they actually have a driver eye detector in the bus. So when the driver stops, slows down, is not blinking as much, indicating being drowsy, that alarm goes off to kind of wake them up. So, obviously, this is your responsibility to see and recognize hazards in advance. You want to be proactive. And what we try to do in this video clip is to show you how to use your eyes to avoid a crash. Okay, by looking well ahead, side to side, and scanning, using those, how we termed it, those good quarterback eyes. So hopefully this video will help you. Well, we know it will help you if you use it. And again, if you want to find out more about us, we are the Riding Academy New Jersey. You can Google us, Riding Academy New Jersey. Our school is located at Montclair State University. We're not actually on the campus. We just rent the parking lot there for our training sessions. So you can find out more about us by Googling us. So stay safe out there and see you on the road. Take care.